Okay, so let's try part two. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen, and I'm really excited to be talking to you guys today about why I love the functional genomic analysis test for those that are dealing with an adrenal fatigue problem. And I think it's really important because we're always looking for answers to get our health back. And ultimately, we tend to do an adrenal saliva test, and the doctor said it was normal. Or I did an adrenal fatigue saliva test, and I had low cortisol, and I took more nutrients to bring up my cortisol. Or I did an adrenal fatigue saliva test, and it was high cortisol, and I had to lower it. And ultimately, I find that that's a really reductionistic approach because you have to think about how stress impacts the body. You're not just going to fix the adrenals and not address the stress sources and expect to get better. And a lot of those stress sources are environmental chemicals and toxins, infections, chemical exposures, physical injuries, foods, lack of nutrients, and our body as a whole can break down because of the same stressors that would impact the adrenals that wouldn't be identified on an adrenal fatigue saliva test that only measures 1% of the total saliva, of the total fraction of the hormone, whereas there's 99% that we don't even know what's going on if we just do a saliva test. So we do a Dutch test, and a Dutch test is amazing. It looks at different times of the day for your cortisol levels with the saliva sample. It also looks at your total metabolized cortisol. How much did you produce for that time period? Is there a lot? Is there a little bit? Is there a good relationship between that and the free fraction? What is your stress hormones impact on your ability to produce testosterone and DHEA? And how is that impacting your estrogen and your progesterone? And how are you clearing those out? Are you clearing those out effectively or not? Are you aromatizing and creating more estrogen? Are you having challenges with your neurotransmitters like adrenaline and dopamine? Is there B vitamin deficiencies? Is there an inactivity between cortisol and cortisone, meaning your body is deactivating the good amounts of cortisol? So Dutch test is awesome. And if you haven't had a Dutch test, reach out to me and ask me how you go about doing that, because you should be doing a Dutch test. But why do I love the genetic test so much better than a Dutch test, or used in combination with a Dutch test? So what I tried to do last time was share my screen, and it doesn't let me do it. So I have to do it through Zoom. So I can't answer your questions live on Zoom, but here I am going to share with you my screen. And this is my genetics. So I am not in violation of HIPAA rules because I allowed you to look at my genes. So this is a functional genomic analysis test. So it's a saliva test. It looks at all the 20,000 plus genes that are responsible for different categories. And this is the patient report. And what I really love about it is it has different categories. So it has how my genetic variants may impact my gut health. Which is really important. And it starts there because ultimately, if you don't have proper intestinal health and you're not breaking down your food effectively and you're not absorbing your nutrients effectively, and you're not making your neurotransmitters or detoxifying effectively, all of which occur in the GI tract, then you could have adrenal fatigue because you are not keeping up with the demands of stressors that your stomach factory has to orchestrate. So what I look at here is the first category is your HLA genes. So I call these your grain genes. How well do I process grains? And you could see when you see a copy of 2, it means that I have both parents that give me both altered efficient genes, which means I'm homozygous, and I have more of a chance to develop gluten reactivity and celiac disease. So I have to be off of all grains myself. And then you look at some other genes on how well do you process dairy, and you can see I have some lactose issues as well, 1 copy from each parent. Now, it doesn't mean I automatically have that problem, but it gives us an understanding of which rock to look under. and to explore a little bit further and come up with a game plan besides just saying take low cortisol supplements or take high cortisol supplements, so that you can normalize that and not address the sources of the problem. Does that make sense? So diet's very big, and the genetic test is one of the things that we do when we do a workup on you and we give you a critical case review. We explain to you what dietary recommendations will work best with your specific genetic susceptibilities, which is really, really key. So I would say in this case, hey, Joel, you shouldn't be eating grains, or do you have any problems with grains? Have you ever tested grains? Have you ever eliminated grains, and how have you felt? And most people will say, well, I've done it and I still feel tired. And I would say, well, maybe we want to test to see if there's any remnants of you getting still grains. Like a lot of people, I've tested their adrenals, and we've done a grain test to see if there's any, it's called a wheat zoomer, to see if they're reacting to any wheat. And they are, which means they've been exposed to it. And they would swear up and down, no, I'm not eating any wheat. I'm like, well, you're getting it from somewhere because it's in your body. And so that's really key. So sometimes you think you're getting it, you're not getting it when you are. There's a couple other genes that I don't want to get into in this particular category, but it helps me help you understanding what are the proper ways to go about formulating a customized recovery program that looks at deeper than the adrenals of what the stressors of the impact of your life that would ultimately result in adrenal fatigue, what it's doing to the rest of the body, right? Does that make sense? And putting questions in there if you have any questions. So when I go back over to watch this, it was sort of a trade-off. When I do a live right from Facebook, I can answer your questions, but I can't share my screen. But if I do a live from Zoom, I can share my screen, but I can't answer your questions live. So anyways, the next category is histamines, which it's good to see. I don't have any challenges with making DAO enzyme. I'm efficient at that, which is what clears out extracellular histamine in the GI tract. But I have major challenges with my ability to clear out intracellular histamines, which is in the tissues. So in the thyroid, in the liver, in different glands and organs and tissues. We'll get into that a little bit later. I have major oxalate genes, and that's really key. That's what I wanted to share with you today. This is a little snippet of why I love the genetic test so much, because the genetic test can tell you if you're more suited to be a plant eater, a grain eater, if I can process my fats and my carbs. It gives me good ideas about that. So you could see I have lots of 2s and 1s in these particular areas of the genes, which are responsible for oxalates. And oxalates can create lots of disturbances in my GI tract, fibromyalgia, pain, anxiety, all the things that may be associated with an adrenal problem that aren't being told based on a saliva sample. Does that make sense? So that's why I love it so much. And I can probably give you, 25 different reasons. So we'll call this video reasons number 1 and 2, why I love the functional genomic analysis test so much when you're dealing with an adrenal fatigue problem, because it helps understand your genetic susceptibilities, especially as it relates to genetic variants in histamine and genetic variants in digestive health. So we can customize a recovery program around your genetic susceptibilities and your foods that you're eating. So I just wanted to explain that to you. We are running a special. Basically, we do the functional genomic analysis review. That's 2 years of your last blood work. We do that for $595. And then we do the genetic test for $349. And so right now, just for today only, we are doing 10% off of the of both tests. So $595, it would save $60, and then $349, 10% off that. So you save $35. So you save $95. But for today only. And listen, don't shoot the messenger. I know it's a problem. I wish that traditional medicine would pay for this, but it doesn't. And at the end of the day, we're looking for people that are resourceful, because they know that no one's going to care more than their health than they are. And the government isn't responsible for your health, and the insurance isn't responsible for your health. You are responsible for your health. And if that makes a lot of sense to you, then just reply, hey, I want to do this program. I want to save the the $95 in combination of your fee and the genetic test fee. And then basically the way it would work would, we would get your information, you would fill out our forms, you would reply back with your email, and then we would send out the kit to you. And then it takes about 6 weeks to get those results. And then when you get those results, we would set up a time to meet. So once again, it's only today only, and I'm doing this because I've gone through a lot of genetic testing and I see it's one of the major things that you're missing in your health. So if you want that opportunity, make sure you reply, me, I want in, and we'll save you that money. So hopefully you got a lot of value out of this. This was just a quick little video I wanted to share with you guys, and I look forward to ending your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Thank you so much.